I work as a part-time stuntman. Sometimes we shoot movies in abandoned places. You might notice lots of action movies have fight scenes in old empty buildings. This time, the production team chose an abandoned police station for filming. The government originally built this place, but after they found a better location closer to the city, they moved out and left this one to rot. To get there, we had to drive 10 minutes off the main road. The place had been abandoned for so long that trees and plants were growing wild around the building. Our call time was 6 p.m. We all gathered outside while the production crew went in to set up lights for the scene. By 8 p.m., the fight choreography was ready and we started filming. The scene went like this. The main character fights one of the bad guys. That's us, the stuntmen. Then two more guys ambush him from behind. Me and my colleague were the ones assigned to do the ambush. The first stuntman fighting the protagonist was John. They were fighting in the corridor. Chris was supposed to attack next from behind, and I was the last guy hiding in an empty room, waiting for my cue. While they were filming the first part of the fight, I stayed inside the empty room. But something felt off. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was behind me. I looked around and saw a small white face peeking from the hollow ceiling. My first thought was, "Oh no, what the hell is that?" I wasn't exactly scared, but I felt uneasy. I couldn't leave the room, or else I'd ruin the shot by appearing on camera. So I crouched as far away as I could from whatever was in the ceiling and tried to focus on the fight scene ahead, waiting for my turn. But the feeling of being watched kept getting stronger. I turned around again. That thing, it was now behind a table, peeking at me, grinning. Its mouth is filled with jagged, uneven teeth. That freaked me out. Just then, the director shouted my cue. I ran out of the room and performed the scene. Luckily, it was a good take, so we didn't need to redo it. But after we wrapped up, I glanced back into the room. That thing jumped onto the table, then crawled back into the ceiling. I told my colleagues about it later, but they said it was probably just a squatter hiding in the building. But I don't know, man. Whatever it was, that was terrifying.
Back when I was a student, I rented a cheap room right outside my college. Every night when I tried to sleep, I always felt a little uneasy, especially when the room was pitch black. So I bought a motion sensor nightlight. That way, if I woke up in the middle of the night, all I had to do was sit up and I wouldn't have to face the darkness. At first, I was satisfied with it, but as final exams got closer, I started waking up more often. The nightlight actually made things worse. It would turn on and I'd be fully awake, making it harder to fall back asleep. Frustrated, I turned the nightlight to face the wall so it wouldn't activate unless I moved it back. The next night, I woke up again, and to my surprise, the nightlight was on, but it was still facing the wall. That spooked me a little, but I figured maybe my shadow triggered it. So I curled up under my blanket, waited for the light to turn off, and tried to go back to sleep. Just as I was about to drift off, tick, I heard the distinct sound of the nightlight turning on again. I peeked out from under my blanket, and what I saw still haunts me to this day. The nightlight, it had turned. It was now facing me. I was frozen in fear. The feeling of being watched became unbearable. The bed beside me sunk in as something with a mass of a person had suddenly appeared behind me between the walls. Then, I feel what I felt a pointy sensation poking behind my back. I was horrified. I can only imagine what I assume is sharp nails. It feels like the being behind me is toying with me. I didn't dare turn around. I just stayed there, tears rolling down my face, too scared to move. After what felt like an eternity, the feeling suddenly disappeared. The nightlight switched off. I stayed awake until morning. Soon after that, I moved out, and I never used a nightlight again.
My cousin lives in an old apartment with her mother. They're a divorced family, and we're the only relatives working in the city. The rest of our family is back in our hometown. So during Chinese New Year, I was the only one visiting her. I brought some gifts, and we caught up about life. After her mom gave me an ang pao and her blessings, I got ready to leave. They walked me to the front door, and I left alone. They lived on the third floor, and the corridor was dark, even though it was the afternoon. The adjacent building blocked all the sunlight. The elevator was at the end of the corridor. As I walked toward it, I noticed something. One of the apartment doors was half open. Curious, I glanced inside. A child was standing there holding the door open. Because it was so dark, I didn't notice him at first. The kid looked at me. His face was blank, void of any expression. Then, out of nowhere, a tall, shadowy figure appeared behind him. It was unnaturally tall, dark. Its bony hand rested on the kid's shoulder. And then, without a word, the kid shut the door. I turned away and quickly walked to the elevator. Then I changed my mind. Too scared to wait for the elevator, I took the stairs instead. I don't know if I imagined it. Maybe it was just the kid's parents standing behind him. I hope I was just seeing things, because if I wasn't, then something terrifying is living in that apartment with my cousin.